Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for that courtesy, and to you and the ranking member for this hearing, and to all of the nominees. Thank you so much for your willingness to serve, and our special thanks to your families, too. As all of you have acknowledged, nobody does this work alone, and public service requires a whole family commitment. So I'm grateful to all of your families. I want to start with a question to you, Dr. Kuznetsov. The Science and Technology Directorate plays an important role in researching, developing, and adapting new technologies that can help secure the U.S. border in coordination with the U.S. Customs and Border Protection and other Department of Homeland Security components. This includes technologies to counter drones used for smuggling or attacks, or new detection systems that can screen people or vehicles before they actually reach the border. How will you ensure that the Science and Technology Directorate is prepared to support Customs and Border Protection and other border security agencies as they work to address new and growing threats?
Thank you, Senator. This is an important question because it talks about the balance needed in a complex portfolio, an eye towards the long-term investments to fill scientific gaps that you can't easily get if you don't prepare for them. But at the same time, understanding the emerging technology landscape, as you mentioned, drone technologies as well as new detection systems, edge devices and sensors enabled by AI are really developing quickly. Managing not only the skill set you need, but the balance of this portfolio is not a simple thing, because one can be drawn into tactical needs and focus too much there and sacrifice some of the long-term needs, which in the end don't serve the institution. You know, over my tenure at the Department of Energy, I have worked these types of issues, maintaining the long-term view, which takes some vigilance, I have to say, but while maintaining an ability to deliver tactically technologies that can be put into operational use. It takes simply a lot of attention to this entire landscape, but it is one of the important aspects of S&T that I recognize.
Yeah, well, thank you for that recognition, because I think it is really important to be able to balance the immediate tactical needs and making sure that our personnel are getting the technology they use, especially at the border, but also making sure that you have the resources you need to build towards long-term capabilities as well, and modern ones. Mr. Weinstein, I want to expand on a topic that you touched on in your introductory comments. International terrorists and homegrown violent extremists continue to pose a grave threat to our homeland security. This includes the threat of terrorist organizations like al-Qaeda trying to reestablish operations from Afghanistan's Kunar province or elsewhere. If confirmed, how will you ensure that the Office of Intelligence and Analysis has sufficient personnel and resources to assess and address all of the various terrorist threats to the homeland, including threats from international terrorist organizations? You touched on the importance of the workforce in your comments, and I couldn't agree more. But we have just an awful lot of different threats to keep track of. And how do you envision making sure that you have a robust personnel to do that?
Well, thank you, Senator. That's an excellent question, and one that I'm going to be spending a lot of time looking at. And that question being the allocation of resources, focus, and attention on the different threats. There's so many threats, as we all mentioned in our remarks. They've multiplied and they've become more diverse through different mechanisms now with cyber, and now that we're in the digital age. It's not just the old-time kinetic threat. But to your point, we have to stand back and keep an eye on all those threats. In the first instance, obviously, we'll follow what the D&I says about their prioritization of threats. Specifically, however, as to international terrorism, ISIS, al-Qaeda, they've not gone away.
Yeah.
We kicked them out of Afghanistan in 2001, and they just regenerated. They started franchising around the world, ISIS, al-Qaeda in Iraq, et cetera. So we've seen that we can't stamp them out. We've got to remain vigilant. And now we have to be extra vigilant, given that the Taliban are back in power in Afghanistan. We have to be very careful, use the over-the-horizon power that we have to prevent that Afghanistan from once again becoming a safe haven for terrorism. So I can assure you that within INA, we'll be intently focused on that threat, as well as domestic terrorism and the other threats that we're seeing today.
And making sure you have a balance of expertise within the personnel to really be able to pursue all of those threats.
Absolutely.
Well, let me ask you another question, because I'm also concerned about online radicalization, as I know you are, which can increase the speed and severity of violent acts before law enforcement can identify them and mobilize to address them. If you're confirmed, how will the Office of Intelligence and Analysis prioritize combating online radicalization?
That's a tough nut to crack. It has been since 9/11, and we saw people just lone wolves getting radicalized here in our communities in a basement without even talking to anybody, any like-minded terrorists, because they have the access to the radicalizing material online. INA, I know now, is focused on that. Have to do so very carefully, because obviously looking at open source information online raises serious constitutional concerns.
Right.
But I know they're doing that in terms of all types of radicalization, be it internationally radicalized terrorism or domestically radicalized terrorism. So I expect when I get in, I'm going to take a look at how resources are deployed within INA to do that, and make sure they match the priorities.
Well, I look forward to working with you on that. And now, a final question to Mr. Valdez. The federal government's reliance on outdated and obsolete technology not only harms our ability to deliver services and prevent cyber attacks, but it also leads to wasteful spending. So if confirmed, what steps would you take to modernize information technology across the department? How would you encourage and work with component agencies that continue to rely on aging and expensive IT systems that both fail to meet modern mission needs and are costly to maintain?
You are absolutely correct, Senator, that is a problem, and it's throughout government. During my career at the Department of Energy, I did work on IT modernization. I know the challenges that exist to do that and the complexities of it. And similarly, in the private sector, in my consulting work, I consulted with major providers of IT solutions and federal agencies to take on this challenge. I'm aware of the work that's being done currently at DHS to improve the legacy system, to replace legacy systems, and then also to modernize the systems that help integrate the work at the department. And if confirmed, I would be very much involved in that effort.
Well, thank you very much, and I look forward to working with you on that. Again, thank you, Mr. Chair, for the courtesy, and thank you to all the nominees.